So these are the prompts that I would like you to choose from, but note again, once again, one of them is basically a topic of your own choosing. That's completely fine, but I also understand because of the limited time frame, if a guided topic would be useful, you can answer it as is. You could take it in an interesting direction. It's really wide open, but to kind of help you direct your thinking, you might want to consider one of these. And again, I want to remind you once again, the primary focus here is your argument. The synthesized evidence is what you're going to do to make your point. But if you get bogged down in the idea of it as a synthesis, I think that's going to make it feel mentally more complicated than it needs to be. Then, depending on whether you've already done one, whether you signed up for the COCC credit, etc., this is either a traditional paper or multimodal essay, probably a video essay again with a similar emphasis on the video piece just being functional, but now thinking about incorporating text into the screen without overwhelming, etc. So just to run through the prompts really quick. The first one, and the boldface should give you the short version, is just looking at the idea of, and this is a common idea, that adversity builds character, that people who have lived in ease are less likely to innovate or create great art, etc. Historically, you can look at civilizations who lived where life was pretty easy, rarely invented new technologies and improved life because they didn't have to, versus areas that grew up in hardship, whether it was weather, war, etc. And so just kind of thinking about, like, is this true, or is that a quaint way to sort of justify people's suffering? To say, well, it's good for them, builds character. The second one is a little more straightforward. It's a question about, is it okay to exchange grades for donations? We see this in schools all the time in various forms. And just kind of thinking about this idea. Now, this isn't you don't have to limit it to grades. Really, the question zeroes in on, or the prompt, I should say, the ethics of offering incentives for charity. Does that take away the altruism and the purity of the charity if you're only doing it because you're going to get a tax write-off, you're going to get a shirt, you're going to get free tickets, etc. So you can look at it as grades. That's the jumping off point for the prompt. But it's really about this idea of, is it ethical to get something in return for charity, even if it's attention? All right, the third one is taken from the play Antigone, and it's this idea: all men make mistakes. A good man yields when he knows his course is wrong and repairs the evil. The crime is pride. Thinking about this idea. What role do we see in pride as the source of true human evil? I guess you could say that might be a strong way of framing it, but just thinking about that idea. And again, you can take these in a lot of different directions. In other words, is the true sin, so to speak, when we realize we're doing wrong, but we keep going anyway because we don't want to admit that we're wrong. Then the fourth one, is the concept of safety versus freedom. Again, this can go in a lot of different directions. You could argue one is more important than the other, and you could argue in both directions. In this case, this is from the essayist Mencken, and he's saying that people don't want to be free. They want to be safe. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? What does that mean if that's true? And so forth. And then again, finally, is just thinking about the world around you. And I think there's enough happening right now. You should be able to think of something to talk about. But just thinking about the world as a whole, what's something happening that you would like to see changed? And the most important thing here is that this is a change that you don't have to come up with. You're looking at what are potential solutions to this problem. And two, again, the solution is never raising awareness. If that's your solution, you don't have a solution, because we're aware of a lot of things. So the starting point is really, if you have a topic in mind, go with that. If not, go with one of these four if that will help direct your thinking. Focus on the argument, find 4 or more sources to defend it, and put it together from there.